And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
That's why we still wear Jordans instead of LeBrons.
Like and subscribe on the way and adore my people. I hope you all are having a truly fantastic day today. All right, welcome back, my people. So this year has been a year with a lot of unexpected events, with a lot of unnormal events for the game of basketball. You got J.J. Redick coaching the Lakers. You got Bronny James on the Lakers team. You had the Anthony Davis and Luka trade. Ironically, the unexpected events all surround LeBron James. But the latest thing is you had the firing of Coach Malone from the Denver Nuggets. And this comes like right before we're about to hit the playoffs, people, which is very unexpected. So I was checking out ESPN, and Brian Windhorst was basically saying that he believes, it was a tension between Mike Malone and the owners that has been kind of brewing. And the reason they chose now to fire him is because it's easier to fire somebody before they start winning. So he didn't want them to, have a good playoff run and, and basically have the fans questioning why they would fire him after having such a good playoff run, So Brian Windhorst believes that this is the reason why they, went ahead and got rid of Coach Mike Malone now instead of waiting. But then I was checking out The Odd Couple with Rob Parker, and what they were saying is they believe it's the fact that he had lost the locker room, that the players no longer wanted to listen to them. And Rob Parker's partner, I never can remember his name. I think his name is Kelvin, also known as someone who caps for LeBron James. But I believe his name is Kelvin. And, he played the clip of one of the latest post-game interviews with Mike Malone. And it was some brutal honesty for the players. And they were saying that this may have been like the last straw that broke the camel's back. But anyway, let's check out this clip and we'll come right back.
I think each guy's got to look themselves in the mirror and start coming to each respective game with the proper mindset and have some pride. I didn't think we played with any pride tonight. It's not my job to evaluate how they take things. My job is to be honest, and sometimes brutally honest. And tonight, it was a brutally honest message. And the guys that are full of won't hear it. They'll say coach is tripping. And the guys that maybe do really care will, because they're not going to go back and watch their minutes, because nobody watches their minutes. Nobody watches film. So we'll have to show them the film. And I said, if somebody disagrees with me, please speak up. And nobody said a word. So, again, I'm not really concerned with how they took that message. My thing is being honest with how we just played. Just got blown out in L.A. Come here against a team that is down 3, 4, 5 starters. You mess around with the game, that's what happens.
All right, my people. So, the Denver Nuggets were just world champions a couple of years ago. And what Coach Mike Malone said here, based on them having lost a few games here lately, I must say I agree with it. And I must say these are some thoughts that I've had about Denver on my own, just watching them play. But again, to me, really, this is something that's very prevalent in the modern NBA. But, with Denver, I just feel like when I watch them, and even Jokic, this has always been why I can't make up my mind definitively about Jokic. Because it's why, He's obviously great on offense. He has a lot of good things. I like him for the fact that he's a player that disproves this whole athletic is everything narrative when they want to say, oh, the players of the day are more athletic and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's like, who cares? You're getting ate up by players like Jokic and Luka. But, and so I like him for that matter. But like I said, to me, his attitude towards the game, I still haven't seen anything that shows that he has an old school mentality towards the game. You know, he first of all, he's not a great defender. And again, the reason I'm talking about Jokic is because he's the superstar of the team, right? And I feel like everybody else feeds off of that. Everybody else feeds off of the leadership of the superstar. You know, hopefully the leadership of the coach. And what Mike Malone was saying to me is, you know, it's the same things that we talk about on this channel all the time. You know, if we're going to assume that maybe this was part of the catalyst that he was losing, the locker room and players didn't want to listen to him anymore and this kind of thing. If we're going to assume that this had something to do with it, like Rob Parker and Kelvin seem to think, to me, like I said, this goes back to the things we talk about on this channel all the time. And that is, you know, if you want to win, you have to put your emotions aside and be able to take the criticism. And this is what's wrong with these modern players, you know, is that you can't just come out directly and tell them, hey, you suck today. Like you weren't trying out there today, because they get so sensitive. You know, this goes back to, you know, when people want to criticize how Michael Jordan led his team. And while I give you, Michael Jordan may have been an extreme version of that, you know, at the end of the day, like I said, Bill Cartwright, being a great leader in his own right, Bill Cartwright told the rest of the team that, hey, look, you got to stop focusing on how he says it and start focusing on what he's saying. You got to stop focusing on how he's saying it and focus on what he's saying. You know, we got an opportunity to win. Now, this is what Bill Cartwright was saying. But again, this is the same thing that Mike Malone is saying. It's like, I don't care how they think I'm saying it, as long as the message gets across. And, you know, to me, like I said, we got all these soft players. To me, Denver has the talent to be in the finals again if they had the leadership. Now, we can say what we want about the depth of their bench and whatnot, but just with the, you know, you got Jokic, you got Murray, you got Aaron Gordon, you got Russell on there now, who I would think somebody like Russell should be very hungry for a championship, for an opportunity to potentially win a championship. Like, you got some players out there who I think should be able to get it done. But like you can't make people take the game as serious as it needs to be taken in order to win. And so, you know, to me, in the modern NBA climate, it's like, because everybody has the same mentality roughly, and what I mean by that is because everybody takes the game roughly about as serious as everybody else, which is not as serious as the game used to be taken. You know, again, the modern NBA is more about the show, is more about clout, is more about jacking up threes. You know, it's more about, it's not about will versus will like it used to be. Again, back in the day, you used to feel like the NBA was about who wanted it more. The NBA was about who could impose their will on the game more. And now, because it's like so many threes, which is, to me, is a mindless activity, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, you have to put in some work to be able to shoot threes. But what I mean is, the further you are away from the goal, the less resistance. So if you're playing a game where you're taking mostly threes, you're playing a game of low resistance. And if it's of low resistance, that means it's less about your will to win. Resistance is what tests your will to win. So if it's about low resistance, if the game has become a low resistance game, and it has become a low resistance game, again, the further you are away from the basket, the less resistance. The closer you get to the basket, the more resistance. So everybody's jacking up threes, to where you can just come down the court, and either pull up before someone has a chance to even get set on defense, or, you got the one-man game where they're trying to drive and kick. But again, the three-point line is the least resistance on the basketball court. And obviously, the further you got Steph Curry, who can shoot almost from the half-court line, and you're talking about no resistance at all. He just has to depend on his ability to be able to shoot the shot. But like I said, the more you take away the resistance in the game of basketball, the more you take away the will factor at all. Because will comes into the play when you have to overcome something, when you have to go against the resistance. So, like I said, this is the culture of the NBA as a whole right now. But, going back to the Denver Nuggets, I've thought the same thing watching the Denver Nuggets over the past few months. Is that like something is like, they can have a great game, but there's some lack of leadership. There's something missing that makes these guys go out and play with the same intensity all of the time, which is why I think OKC is one of the better teams. Number one, because they're good on offense and defense, which, Shai Gilgeous is carrying most of the load for that, but they're good on offense and defense. And most of the time when I catch an OKC game, I see the intensity. Now, again, I've seen some games where they look a little lackluster, but that's not often. But again, this is the general culture of the NBA. Mike Malone was with the Denver Nuggets for 10 years. And you would think in that time that he would have earned the respect of all the players, especially now that they have a championship, to where he would command that respect. As long as Phil Jackson was coach of the Bulls, you can see that Michael Jordan maintained that respect for Phil Jackson to the very end. So much so that during the Last Dance, during the 98 season, he said, if Phil goes, I go. I'm not playing anymore. I'm not trying to play for a new coach. I'm not trying to play to rebuild a team. Like, we've spent all these years together building the chemistry and trust and all this between one team for the most part. Obviously the teams between the first and second three-peat were slightly different, but the core base of Phil, Scottie, and Michael Jordan was there. And so you would think that someone who's been there as long as Mike Malone has been there, and like I said, the fact that he has led them to a championship now, you would think that he would be more respected by the players. But if what Mike Malone is saying is the case, is that, hey, you guys are just not going out there and giving your all. These guys aren't studying the game according to him, unless someone prompts them to do so. It just goes to show you that, like, this is the culture of the NBA. The entitlement is the culture of the NBA now. This is the LeBron James era. But anyway, we gonna hold up here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think of the firing of Coach Mike Malone? Do you think it has more something to do with him not getting along with the owners? Or do you believe, like Rob Parker said, that, it's because he lost the locker room? And I guess basically because these players are sensitive and can't, take that direct criticism. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. You all have a truly fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. All right.